two on right now?
Yep.
All right.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Kevin.
Well, hello.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Just trying to get used to this technology crap. I saw a few guys that were in there. I've been getting emails for the past hour and a half, I think. Guys must be in there checking things out, huh?
Well, I tried jumping on about an hour ago. I didn't realize you were an hour behind me.
Oh, yeah, you're Eastern time, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I that's why I tried to put it in bold CST for Central time. So sorry about that. I knew there was going to be some confusion.
Well, at least I was ahead and not behind.
True, absolutely. I don't know who it was, but somebody emailed me a week ago. The Google app, the calendar app, sent it to them in Pacific time, so they had it at 5:30. And if he hadn't been paying attention, I guess, I don't know.
So how many people are you expecting to join the chat?
5 total.
5.
Yeah. I don't have a great big channel, so. And we're only pulling from upper Midwest, guys. Quite a few people contacted me from the South saying, oh man, I wish you were, I wish I lived closer or something. But I kind of wanted to keep this to guys that we're going through the same thing in their apiaries, dealing with the same type of weather adversaries and stuff like that. So
yeah, I've had an awful time trying to keep bees alive through the winter up here.
Yeah, last year I lost all my hives, so that's why this year I said go big or go home. A lot of colonies. Hopefully the odds are in my favor.
When did you lose most of your colonies, Kevin?
I lost one in the fall last year by yellow jackets, but the other 2, I checked them in March, and they were just small clusters, on top, and they weren't moving. So they were kind of like in torpor already, I'm going to guess. So I'm pretty sure that there was plenty of honey in the hive, lots of honey, but I don't think that they could actually warm themselves up enough to move over to it.
Huh.
So, and then we had what, 18 or 20 inches of snow on April 14th last year. I mean, the bees just weren't, it just stayed cold for way, way, way too long. And by the time I pulled my hives, none of the bees were alive. They were all dead.
Hmm.
Hey, we got somebody new there. Joe. So we got, what we're going to have is, I think, 3 guys from Michigan and 2 from Wisconsin. How are we doing for, is there a voice delay here?
No, it seems pretty good.
Does it? Okay.
Let's put it this way. When your lips are moving, the words are coming across.
That's the way it is for me too.
Okay.
It's just that after I get done talking, there's like a delay before either one of you guys were starting to talk. So I'm like, okay. Hi, Joe. I don't know if you can hear us.
Can you hear Joe?
I'm not hearing Joe.
He might be muted. He's not saying anything.
Well,
He
he
doesn't
ain't
look like
saying
he's doing.
anything. He ain't saying anything either. So
I wonder if there's a. I've used this Zoom once before. I don't know if there's a way to. You can click on participants and then.
manage participants.
Okay, he doesn't have a mic.
Oh, he doesn't have a mic.
Well, he does. It doesn't show a mic next to him.
You're right. Well, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. Yep, there it is. This chat between us, the free version is only allows us to do this for 40 minutes. So if we want to continue this, I gotta send you a new link and we'll just continue on. You can do unlimited meetings, but you're limited to 40 minutes for whatever reason. Okay.
Understood.
Well, I'm not sure. Joe, can you hear us? If you can wave. I don't think he's hearing us.
Let's try this.
I can't even read that.
You can't read that?
No. It's
Trying to get his. Joe, no mic. I need a whiteboard. All right.
Yeah,
so
you need a whiteboard. It looked pretty washed out to me.
All right, I tried. There is a chat feature on here, but I don't know if he sees it.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
There he is. Okay,
We've been devising measures to get your attention, and I tried to hold up this little sign here.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay.
Well, it's not really legible. I got a book in today, by the way. Honeybee biology. That's what I got in today. So.
Oh, good. Sort of like I was thinking Tom Hanks in that Castaway movie. Wilson, we were going, Joe.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure this out like everybody else, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Roger is. He said he was coming, and he was actually in the room earlier, from what I saw. But maybe he'll come in so we can get started. You guys all know me, Kevin. You've seen my videos. Why don't we just go around and you guys can introduce yourselves to everybody, and then tell us a little bit about your beekeeping and stuff like that. Floyd, why don't we go with you?
All right, Floyd Kreiderman, Sioux, Michigan. That's I-75 to the end, right up on the Canadian border. This is my third winter. My first winter, I got one hive through. Mites took it out the following fall. I bought two 10-frame hives out of a Traverse City area this spring, split them. Right now I've got 4 5-frame nukes and an 8-frame, double 8-frame.
So you got 4 5-frame nukes and an 8-frame?
Yeah, well, they're 5/5.
Okay.
With a hive top feeder on top.
Okay. What is your plans for your apiary? What do you just you in it for the bees or for the honey or queen rearing or?
Well, I want to start raising newts. If I ever get the genetics that can survive these brutal winters, my plan is probably have about 100 hives and break them up into nukes and overwinter nukes to supply decent bees for the area. Took me 4.5 years to find Michigan bees.
Yeah, it can be tough finding some local bees that can survive. Brad?
So
go ahead.
Hey guys, Brad Cloutier. I'm down here in Decatur, Michigan, southwest corner of the state. This is my first year actually. So I started off with 2 nukes. I dealt with a very, very, very mean hive this year, so I had to actually kill one already. And I do believe it was Africanized, although a lot of people question that, being that I'm in Michigan, but it came from Georgia. And these bees were pretty rough. And I consulted with a few very experienced beekeepers, and it was their opinion that there was something going on there, definitely. But anyway, that's another story. But so anyway, I went into winter with 4 colonies. I was gifted one in November. A local individual I met at a beekeeping meeting had to abruptly move to Seattle. And he couldn't take his bees with him. So I inherited his bees. And so I had 5 colonies. I had a small nuke that I kept having problems with. And I did a requeen back in August, and they just never took well to her. Anyway, so I brought him. I had him at another spot, brought him back home, put him in a little 5/5 like Floyd was talking about to crowd them in a bit, as they had their numbers had dropped a lot. That queen never took, so they were a dead out back in November. I took them apart, and I couldn't find the marked queen in there, and there was a virgin queen. So not sure. Other than that, though, I have 2 colonies in a double nuke setup right now, 4/4. I have a split from August 1st that filled up a single deep and a medium, and they're doing well right now. And then, so right now I've got 4 colonies that are alive and well. It's been pretty mild here. I would say moderate, really. We haven't had any real cold weather. It's been really average temperatures here in Southwest Michigan. Sounds like that's going to change next week. So we're supposed to have some pretty cold nights and whatnot. But anyway, so my plans for next year are to expand a lot. I don't know where I want to go. I'm not terribly in love with the honey production concept of bees, although I do have people that around me that have asked for honey, and we did produce some honey. We did get some honey this year. I got basically about a 10 frame medium that I harvested and left some honey for my bees. But we had such a good goldenrod and aster flow. Just the last month, it was just solid. Just, the bees filled up basically all their frames when that ended. So I didn't really have to leave that much either, or, as far as what I collected earlier. So with that being said, my goal for next year is I'm going to do a lot of colony increase, a lot of splitting, a lot of queen rearing, and I'm probably going to break everything down all the way up until about July, and then try to go into next winter with as many colonies as I can, and then kind of start selecting my queens, and going from there. Gotcha. So that's my basic plan. And maybe the unique part of my plan is most of what I'm going to do is vertical. So I'm going to do a lot of 5/5/5 and then split. So I built a lot of nuke boxes, a lot of 5 frame deeps this year.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. Joe, your mic is off. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now you're back on. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. My name's Joe Heberling. I'm from Alpena, Michigan. This is I think the 4th winter I'm going into beekeeping. I think I have, mine serves me correctly, I think we got 10. Out of that 10, there's, I think, 4 nukes. I got a couple on just single 10s. And then everything else is double 10 with a medium. It's the first year I'm trying to overwinter with a medium. Winters haven't been so good for me. Last year was the worst. I think I lost everything except 2. I think I had 8 going in. I think I had 2 that made it.
Wow.
I blame that a lot, I think, on my selection of stock I've been using.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody else can relate to that. But my goal is to, like it is every year, to increase and then come out of winter. And I like to start to get into the nuke business, but it just haven't had the stock coming out of winter, I guess, is my biggest thing.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of bees, it's hard to get rolling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to do both, which is almost an impossibility. You can't maximize bees and maximize honey. You know,
Yep.
doing a lot of splits, you're not going to be making a whole lot of honey. So how is Joe? How's your winter been so far? What are your bees doing?
Well, they seem to be hanging in there. I lost 2. One's my fault. It was a very, very late season split, and I didn't expect it to make it. The one that I always lose is my strongest hive. And I think that's beekeeper error. I think I get a little greedy with, I'm going to leave everything go to the last possible second.
And
it doesn't,
honey?
Yeah, and then pull all my supers. It doesn't get the mite treatments like the other ones do. But, heck, that's been a month already. It was dead already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you think they ran out of stores in December?
I don't think it. I actually didn't tear it apart. It did feel to have some weight to it yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if it got robbed out or what happened. I need to look into it.
Okay. Usually strong colonies don't get robbed.
Well, yeah. I just don't know how strong it was in the end.
Right. Brad, how's your bees right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so far they're all alive.
Yeah. Are they active right now? What's going on with them?
Well, last week it was kind of warm. We had a couple days where we got up into the mid 40s, high 40s one day, and so we were able to get some cleansing flights in. The ones in my double nuke, they have all moved up toward the top. The one that has this, so my entrances on that, if you guys are all familiar with double nukes,
mm-hmm.
So basically you got an entrance on each side, and those are facing east and west. So the colony that has the side that is facing the south is a little bit more active, seems to have a bit more bees in it. But I've already got sugar, granulated sugar on top, mountain camp method, put that on top for them, and they're doing well. I have the colony that I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how she was like an incredibly prolific queen. In fact, so one of the things that I did last year, so you guys know, is I was a little bit ignorant going in, and I've really been doing my homework, studying ever since. So I've learned a ton of books, a lot of book smarts at this point, less application. But one of the things that I did is I found out the nukes that I got, one was from Georgia, the other one had overwintered in Florida before it came up here. I went, when I made my splits, I got all new queens, and I got 3 queens locally. And I got another one that was a Saskatraz, which was kind of supposed to be known for being able to overwinter. And that was the dud. That was the one that was a dud. And I think that one just spent too long in a cage. It spent a week coming from California, went to somebody else in Michigan, and I drove up there to get it. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to have my own queens.
Sure.
So one of the other ones I did order from a pretty good, a reputable breeder up this way, but my colony ended up killing that queen because they had a virgin in it. And that was just another, just not knowing the timelines really good or being very dialed in with all that stuff. But that queen that ended up being the queen for that colony, she lit it up, man. She laid up, so she was kind of in there August 1st. She laid up all 10 frames, like
Wow.
all the way across. And that colony was just packed from, all the way up. They filled up a super from August 1st. And so I'm really excited to see how they come out because she was just so prolific. And then, so she's a mated queen here, right? So I'm kind of excited about that part too, because she's the only queen I have that, emerged from a cell here and mated successfully. And so I'm kind of thinking too, because I live in the middle of the forest out here, and my neighbor down the road, we can't find anybody with bees in the area. And my neighbor said he's had bees in his clover field for years and years and years. And he lives by Pike Forest over there. And I'm sort of wondering if we have some feral colonies out there.
Sure.
So I'm setting up swarm traps. That's another one of my plans for next year. But I've got mountain camps on all my bees right now. So that one colony I was telling you was prolific. They haven't touched it. They're still sit right. All their frames are full, and the cluster is basically like 8 frames across, and then they're also up into the medium, all the way to the top of the medium. So it's a really nice cluster right now. They haven't even touched their sugar yet.
What's the temperature been like this past week? Is it like down around 20 or? The
past week we've been in the 30s midday.
Okay.
So, it's not really a big issue here.
Okay.
But like I said, last week we did have some warm temperatures, and we were able to get some cleansing flights, and I was able to watch the bees really good a couple days. I can't get them to take any dry pollen though. One of the things I like to do is really observe them, just to learn. I'm trying to learn from them more than the books if I can. But one of the things that I do notice is that they're passing pollen up, and they're looking for water.
Yes.
So they're coming out, and anytime, when you have warm temperatures this time of year, your ground is moist because you have frost and snow and whatever. So they're in the puddles and just, they're gathering water for some reason. And my understanding is that they're doing that to break down the honey, the stored honey that they have. But again, I don't know all the reasons behind it.
Well, I just watched Tom Seeley's video on water usage. I don't know if you've seen it from the National Honey Show.
No, I haven't.
It's quite a dry speech. But because it's a lot of data, that he talks about. But one of the funny things that he came out with is they don't use the water and the honey or the nectar for their water needs. They use water that's coming in. There are bees in the colony. Their job is water. That's it. And those bees come in and that get passed to a collector that goes in and either cools the hive or hydrates workers or whoever that needs it. And I found that very, very fascinating. And he said that he's got a observation hive. He lives in the north as well, but he has an observation hive in his office, and they're quite obviously docile in the wintertime. But he says he put water in there one time, he says, and they went absolutely nuts for that water. It's because they don't get access to it very much. But he didn't bring it up in his topic, but one of the questions was about winter, because that wasn't his study. His study was during the summer. But his hypothesis is that they get all their moisture in the winter from condensation on the side of the hive, from their breath and everything else that they kind of like recycle their water in the hive. And then on warm days when they can get out, and do their cleansing flights. And if they can find that puddle, they will, bring it into the hive. And that's what they use. And they just survive the winters. And that's why the winter hardiness, we're having, we need those bees that know how to do that and survive on those long stretches without a whole lot of water, where, you bring in bees from Georgia or California. Well, those bees don't have to do that. I'm sure you all watch Barnyard Bees videos. I mean, all his bees are out there flying right now. They can get out to all the puddles and stuff like that. They're not in 3, 4, or 5 month stretches where they're not going to get any water, whatsoever. They're just, in a cluster, and that's it. I've been fortunate. Well, I guess you could say fortunate here, because the bees got out last week and flew around and stuff like that. That's how I found my couple of dead hives, because they weren't flying. But my problem is right now I'm trying to get my bees to freaking go to sleep. It was 13 degrees the other day. They were sitting right at the top entrance hole, climbing out, going back in, climbing out, going back in. I'm just like, go to bed, because it's all they're doing is eating all my fondant on top, and they're going to go through that fast, because they're already out of stores. So I just wish they'd just cuddle up and go to bed, but they're not. I even pulled all my entrances out, slid in hardware cloth, just so I could get a little colder air flowing into the hive. Didn't work. They're still pretty active. Floyd, how are your bees? What are your bees up to right now?
Well, it was 17 degrees here today, and I went out. One hive was very active. Lots of bees coming in and out. There's 2 of them that are up on top, and the other 3 are still down low in the bottom chambers. The one what was flying, I tried putting some sugar in the other day. Didn't have a whole lot of success. It was fairly cold, about, 18, 20 degrees. And I've never had to do that before, deal with bees flying around like that in the wintertime. I'm just wondering if that one what was flying 17 degrees is out there trying to find some food.
Yep. I was wondering that too. If that's why my bees were all the way up on the top and getting out as often as they could be, because I pulled the cover off the one a couple weeks ago. And they had been out flying around on a warm day, but they were all up on top, and they're active because I think they were out and looking for something, anything they could find.
Now, will sugar or fondant take them through the winter?
Well, what?
The sugar or fondant take them through the next 2 or 3 months of winter?
Yes, it will, but it just depends on how much they will consume. You've got to get in there, obviously, and check and see, you're going to have to pop your hives. There's no other way to get around it and see, did they run out? Do they have enough, Putting bricks on is probably, Brad, you did the mountaintop one, so your sugar doesn't have any water at all in it. You're just straight sugar.
Yeah, but it's hardened up a little bit because of the moisture. Yeah, because you can see, especially around the outside. Now I've got a piece of insulation on the top of each of my colonies, so so that does help with the condensation a little bit. But I noticed the condensation around the outsides, which is probably what you want. You don't want it on top dripping down on them, but if you can get it on the sides, then the bees can use, like you were talking about, can use that. Right. At least that makes sense to me.
Sure. Yeah, and that's why a lot of these guys, you really don't have to, wrap your hives in that really thick insulation, on the sides. On the top, that's where you want your insulation, because you don't want that cold shock and that condensation coming and raining down on top of the bees. What hey Joe, what I guess winter system are you using on your bees?
I have a form of, I guess, of a shim. I've kind of been adapting it every winter. I think last year, or the year before, I put some holes in the back of it for some ventilation, for some screen. I was having moisture problems. This year on some of the nukes, I put an entrance, a front entrance, so they had an upper entrance. And I do put insulation on the top. But last year I did mountain camp as well, and all my nukes, I think it was about this time, were gone. And upon tearing them apart, they actually got up into the sugar, and I thought was consuming it, but it looked like they had nosema or something. They was just bee poop all in the sugar. And then the spring, when I tore everything apart, it looked like they were actually hauling out as trash. There was a bunch of sugar in the bottom. It didn't really look like they were really consuming it like I thought they should. So this year I've kind of, I don't know, it was just my own idea. I tried to make the bee candy, if you will.
Sure.
Add a little bit of pollen to it.
Joe, did you put it on early? Did you put your sugar on early?
I think it was December last year.
A lot of the guys down here said you don't want to put your sugar on too early because they'll drag it out. I noticed that. I did put mine in December, late December, and I haven't had any issues with them trying to drag it out.
That makes sense.
I gather a lot of data by asking a lot of questions. So that's why I asked you to kind of confirm perhaps maybe what they're saying. But you're farther north than me. I would think that December wouldn't be an issue, but that it could be a year-to-year thing too.
And that was partly me watching all these southern beekeeping videos where we just overwinter 5-frame nukes and they make it through the winter. And that's what I was trying to do. And I think in December they were about dry. Funny.
Yeah, that's the danger of the YouTube videos, is that you have perspective. Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes these guys don't show you all the failures either.
That's true. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely, they don't. Floyd, what do you use for your winter setup? How do you set your hives up for winter?
This year I've got hive top feeders over my nukes with screens. What I put the newspaper and this sugar camp on it. My 8-frame last week, when they came up to the top, I don't think they had a whole lot of stores going in, so I dug up another 8 frames of honey and put on them. Then I got an empty chamber over top of that, just be able to put on the sugar camp.
Okay, so you got a hive top feeder and then a spacer on top of that?
No, the 8-frame does not have a hive top feeder. It just has an empty box. But I have a 1.5 rigid styrofoam cut real snug with slides right down in there. So there's not a lot of dead air space above the sugar.
Sure.
Actually don't have no sugar at this point. I just put the 8 frames of honey in.
Okay. I gotcha.
On my north side, I put an 1.5 styrofoam as a windbreak because they're pretty much out in the field. And I took it off the front and sides the other day because I had to do some work on them. When I had to put the extra honey in on my 8-frame, that kind of destroyed my whole idea. I had them all wrapped in that rigid 1.5 styrofoam. Now I'm going to just put on the south side tar paper across the front for the solar gain.
I've heard some guys just putting the black tar paper just on the south face just to get a little bit of heat gain from whatever sun is out there. If it's 1 degree or 2 degrees, I'm sure that would probably help. Michael Palmer wraps all his hives in that black tar paper. I know that's all he uses. He doesn't use anything else. Then he puts that rigid insulation over his inner cover, and that's it. Seals them up.
Yeah, he seems to be doing pretty good. In fact, I'm kind of counting on buying a few queens from him this summer. He's got them dark, quiet bees that don't consume all kinds of food during the winter. So he says.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we you know, when we all start, I'm gonna guess, we all get these packages and things from the South. I got mine originally. I think I got it from Kelly Bees. That was my first year. Um, this past year, I even got a package from Barnyard Bees. It was just a experiment split. I took their package and I just split it into 3 2-frame nukes. I put 3/4 of a pound in each 2-frame. I bought 2 queens. Put 2 and then put their queen in. Their queen blew the doors off of my other 2 queens. Blew the doors off of it, but she ended up absconding on me after a while. So that experiment was a failed experiment, but I can understand trying to get local queens. I have 1 queen left from a mated, and that's my 5/5/5, doing really well right now, and I'm praying to God that she makes it, because I'm hoping that she's going to be my breeder queen for next year. I want to get that Northern Survivor stock. She's probably I'm going to guess she's a cross between a Carniolan and an Italian. And then whatever drones, whatever other drones are out there as well. What I'd really like to do is find feral colonies and set mating nukes next to the feral colonies. I don't have to trap them out or go catch them. I just want their drones, to get the breeding into my system, into my breeding system. That's what I want. I want those genetics. I don't need to catch the feral hive. That's really hard to trap a feral hive. You can get all the bees out, but the queen's staying in there. She ain't coming out. So you just got a bunch of bees. They're going to do you really no good whatsoever. You might get the drones for a little bit, but they'll eventually die off. Best thing to do is.
Well, how about
the best thing to do is
using swarm?
Go ahead.
How about using swarm traps to catch their swarms? A bait hive.
Yes, but you never know if that's from a feral colony or from your neighbor.
Well, I guess
unless you see them swarming out of that specific tree, I can't tell. Be honest with you, I couldn't tell whether it was one of my hives or one of my neighbor's hives or whose hive it would. But I know if it's sitting in a tree, I know that's a feral colony.
That's true. Now, I plan to run around with about 30 to 50 swarm traps in just 50-mile area wherever it looks good. Just put them up. Now, we don't have a whole lot of beekeepers outside of the Sioux area, so anything out in the country is pretty much going to be feral.
Okay. Not that you know of, anyways.
I know there's a little over 100 hives brought into this area last spring, but if they survive over the winter, I'd be real surprised.
I thought
last winter we had a UP bee meeting where just people from the Upper Peninsula got together in Marquette, and just about everybody there was probably 300 beekeepers. Everybody lost the bees last winter.
To Varroa?
That would no doubt be a contributing factor, but it's more the weather. It was hot and cold right up through December, so they're really active, eating through a lot of their feed.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a 300-mile stretch up here that everybody lost their bees. Only found one person that said, yeah, we had hive make it through it, and it was their first year.
I think that's going to be especially this year. I don't know what your weather pattern is like, but there's not a drop of snow out here on the ground right now. You know, it's been a weird, warm winter, and the bees are, I think, to me, they're too active. They're burning through their stores, and, you know, I'm afraid that if they run out, I mean, I don't know how long a bee can last with nothing. You know, can you last 3 days, you know, or a week with nothing? I wish I had that answer, because I'm going to have to keep going in and, you know, lifting my fondant. You guys know my candy boards. That's what I'm talking about. I think I did a video on that, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm just going to have to, you know, keep checking every one of my hives to see if they've gone through it or not, and putting another one on. You know, they can survive on nothing but, you know, sugar. I mean, sugar is sucrose. I mean, that's what they live in. They turn that into honey, you know. They'll just suck it right down. But and they can live on that for until, you know, March or April. Doesn't really matter to them. But it's up to me, really. You know, I have to catch it at the right time. You know, I can go in there and look and go, oh yeah, they'll probably last another week, and then a week later I might go in there and they're really active, and it might be nothing left and they're dead. It can happen. You know, I wish I knew how long that they can last without anything. Does anybody know? Have an idea?
I don't know a time, but I don't think it's very long. I mean, they're typically using that to keep warm, you know, going through your stores so they can make heat. So it's tough. I know the position you're in, because like here it's windy all the time, and they say don't ever open a beehive in the winter when it's windy. Well, when your back's up against the wall like that, you just got to be quick and just do it.
Yeah. I mean, the bees have to endure a little bit of cold so that they can get some food. I mean, beat starvation, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, that's my opinion anyways. I'm just going to have to, you know, like you said, bite the bullet. But yeah, I was cracking some hives earlier this year, because I had actually left some hive top feeders on, and I wanted to get off. I didn't bring a veil. I didn't bring anything. I figured I'd just pop those things off real quick and slide I popped that thing off, and I had freaking bees everywhere, man, and I was running. They were pissed. I'm like, it's 20 degrees out, man. What are you guys doing flying out here?
I had them go up my sweatshirt in 20 degrees. That'll got hit and nailed a few times.
Yeah, I'd be peeling clothes off fast. I mean, I love beekeeping and everything like that, but getting stung sucks. I don't, you know, that's just me. I'm just not for it. That's just, I'll always pretty much wear a veil unless I'm just doing feeding. I tried to go gloveless for a while this past year, but then I got stung on the hand, and that was the end of that. I'm still going to go back to it, but man, my hand swelled up. Man, did that hurt. I felt like I had arthritis there for about 3 days.
Well, I'll tell you what, I discovered those 7 mil nitrile gloves.
Yes.
And I was stung more through the leather gloves than I was the nitrile gloves this year. So
did you get the white ones? Those white nitrile gloves?
I got the ones at Harbor Freight. They're blue.
Okay.
They even have a thicker one, but they're black. And I thought I didn't really want to push my luck with black gloves. You know, it just didn't seem. You know, bees don't really care for black.
Yeah, they don't dig black very well.
Yeah.
I have ones for my barbecue, and I'm like, no, I ain't wearing those.
They work very good though. I mean, it almost feels like you're using your bare hands when you're handling it. You've got really good mobility with them. And the bees, I guess part of it is the bees don't like the feel of the gloves themselves, so they don't really want to land on them.
Right.
But that's what I heard. I can't say for sure from experience, but I was stung through them once, but I was stung probably more through the big, thick leather gloves this year. So
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been stung through my.
I got stung plenty this year, especially I told you I had that one colony. Maybe next time we meet up, I'll have those pictures ready and I'll share those with you guys. But it was brutal. I mean, I was my wife said she was watching from the house. There was a cloud of black around me, and
Wow.
so my driveway is about 288 feet, and the beehives are probably 50 yards behind my house. Yeah. And I went all the way to the end of my driveway, and they were still coming at me. Yeah. So I ended up what I like to say, baptizing them with soapy water.
Wow.
You
said you got those bees down in Georgia. Where did you get
them? Well, okay. I bought them from a local bee seller.
Okay.
He's one of the bigwigs in our local club down here, which I really didn't engage too much in the club this year. I went to one meeting, and I kind of sought out. I wasn't asking, but I was sort of looking for mentors, but I ended up just finding people that would answer questions for me, Sure. But this fella that sold us the bees, I told him, I said, this isn't right. This can't be how beekeeping is going to be. This is not right. So he's like, well, you can try requeening, and then he just quit answering my messages. And I was a little disappointed. I mean, I don't blame him, because anything can happen. You can get a hot hive. I understand all that. Wasn't interested in blaming him. I was taken aback of his lack of engagement with a new beekeeper, especially if you're somebody who's selling bees, because I would think that you'd want people to come back and do business with you. But, he kind of quit talking to me. So I found somebody else to help out, just answer questions and tell me what to do and whatnot. So I went in multiple times. I put a new queen in there. I lose you, Kevin?
I
think we.
Sorry about that.
We've run out of time. Hey, White Knight's running out.
Yeah, this is that. Oh, this was on Randy Oliver's one of his lectures or his website or something like that. These were some white nitrile gloves, and I just thought I'd share that link with you. If you guys can see that, I don't know if you can or not.
Yeah,
we can see it.
What's that?
I can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
But
that's 100 gloves, though. That ain't bad.
No, it's
what's the thickness?
Geez, I don't know.
It says 100 palm. Oh, that's the palm width. Class 100. I wonder if class 100 is a particular width. I get mine at Harbor Freight. They're pretty cheap. 50 gloves, I think, for $8-9.
Okay.
So.
Yeah,
but they're blue.
The thing is about these, and that's why Randy did them, is because they had the long sleeve. Versus
yeah, that is longer than the ones I have.
Right. Now I have to do something here. I have to try to get back. So let me see if I can get back here. I don't know if I can. I went and click share, and now I don't know what. By the way, I should have let you guys know. I got a notice from this Zoom meeting that they took off the 40-minute time limit for our first meeting. So now we have unlimited time.
Oh, excellent.
So, I mean, that's for the first meeting, I guess. They want you to buy the $15 a month, and I'm sorry, but I'm cheap, and I ain't doing that.
That's $15 for bee equipment.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Something I was going to say too, obviously I'm no doctor, but I'll just tell you about my experience. I used to get stung in the hands too, and it would swell up like you were saying, Kevin.
Yep.
And I started taking Zyrtec for allergies, and that actually helps out a lot. When I don't take it getting stung, sometimes they'll swell up pretty pretty good, like you were saying.
Is that like Benadryl?
Kind of like Claritin, like a non-drowsy allergy medication.
Okay. What do you call it?
Zyrtec.
Zyrtec. I gotta write that down. Man. See, I'm learning stuff. This is what this is about. Zyrtec.
And I can't remember, Kevin. I've watched so many videos on making bee candy or fondant or whatever you want to call it. Are you putting pollen in yours?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I put 1 pound per 1 pound of the substitute pollen per 10 pounds of sugar. And since the pollen substitute only has 5% or 50% protein by weight, you're really only giving the bees 5%.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not much. You're not stimulating them into any kind of, okay, hey, we got a pollen flow, let's start brood production.
Right.
This ain't the time to be doing that.
No.
And I'll be honest with you, when I made that up, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to do this for emergency, like maybe in February, at the end of February, and maybe they start building a small little brood nest, start small and build up. But I was not expecting to put that on this early. If I had, I probably wouldn't have put any pollen in at all, because they don't, there is some pollen in the hive, but these are winter bees. They have stored all this, all their, I guess they took in as much pollen as they could, and they stored it in their fat bodies so that they can survive this winter, the long time winter. They know that going in. And they don't need to take in pollen right now. They know that. So they know it's not a flow. That's probably why they're kicking out that Brad, you said they weren't taking any pollen dust from you at all. They're in. They just need the sugar. That's their survival mode. Now they still feed the queen. They take in the honey, and then they have their fat bodies, and they use that, and they feed the queen a little bit. Each bee or whatever, feeds the queen over the winter, because she can't take in honey. So they have to she has to rely on them to feed her. So, but once you start it, you can't stop it. If you're like those pollen patties that I just made up, once you put the pollen patties on, that's for brood production. They're going to start getting going, because I'm at 16% protein.
When do you do that, Kevin, coming out of winter? When do you typically do that?
March. End of March. Yeah.
So a lot of guys in the north are around that time. I know a little bit farther south than me, right where I'm at, a lot of guys early March, maybe even late February for some. But
yeah, I can kind of see, probably the guys south of me, and you're probably on the same plane as them down in Madison. South of that, I'm gonna guess southern Michigan is kind of on that same plane.
Yeah, and I also have Lake Michigan, so I have moderated temperature.
A little bit warmer, a little bit earlier, doesn't it?
A little bit. Well, yeah, but I think it's just more moderated here. I think we have less swings, but I do get a lot of snow, except for this year.
Buds first come out on trees.
Yeah.
When does your buds first come out on trees?
Wow, good question.
Or leaf, just your first leaves just start opening or whatever. whatever. You know?
Well, I'm trying to think. We tapped maple trees mid-March, early March last year, mid-March. So we had some maple buds, end of March. But I would say last winter kind of drug on. We had it kind of drug on through April.
Right.
So my apple trees were blooming in early May.
Okay.
Early May. I was trying to identify when our dandelions. That's kind of a good indicator, is when do your dandelions start blooming, but I couldn't. We do have a few willows here too, not many on the property, but I'm going to pay a lot more attention this year to those things, because last year I didn't. But
we start getting dandelions here probably the last week of April, beginning of May.
Okay, I suspect I'm probably a week or two earlier than you.
Right. How about you, Floyd? When do you?
Dandelions didn't show up until probably the second or third week in May.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little bit late. Usually, last week of April, first week of May, dandelions and pussy willows are out. Oh, probably 2 or 3 weeks before that.
Sure. What have any of you guys tried the candy boards like I'm doing? Has anybody tried those yet?
It's where I'm
Well, you just broke up. What happened there, Joe? I think I lost you.
going. I just need to build them. It's probably.
Hey, Joe. Did you guys catch Joe? Did everybody freeze?
I love the internet connection.
Go to the step.
I think it's my internet.
On it.
Yeah.
Oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. Great.
Kevin, I think it's yours, because you're standing still quite a bit. Yeah, you're freezing up.
Okay, is that better?
It's not uncommon for. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it just turned off. Everything just turned off. But anyways, okay. So I just busted in the middle of a conversation you guys were having. Sorry about that.
We were just talking about snow.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, up here in the Sioux, it's not uncommon to get 2 or 3 weeks of sub-zero in a row, and I think that is really hard on the old bees.
I think my bees have already had more cleansing flights than they did. I want to say they went from like January the whole way to almost the end of April before they even got a cleansing flight last year. But we just got some snow beginning of New Year's Eve. I think it started to snow. We probably got, I don't know, 10 inches now.
Oh, wow. My last year, I never saw a bee. When I put my bees to bed, I never saw them again. I mean, they never came out, and I'm like, everybody talking about all these cleansing flights. I'm like, my bees are just not doing anything, And then in March, when I saw that little colony that big around, I was like, oh no. But I had a varroa problem last year too, so that led to my small cluster in March. I think that had a lot to do with it. When I did my autopsy, my bottom board was full of varroa.
Are any of you guys using oxalic acid, the vaporizer?
I am. I did 3 treatments. So what I did is, I want to say it was sometime in August. Mid-August, I did 3 treatments 7 days apart, one each 7 days apart. And then I did one about probably about 3 or 4 weeks back. We had about a 45-degree day, and I opted to hit them while there was, most likely no brood or very little brood in the colonies. And so I hit them. I hit each one of. I hit 3 of the 4 colonies. The one that I inherited has one of those IPM boards on it. It's a screen bottom board. I pulled it out, and there was only like 3 Varroa. So I decided I'd let it go and see what happens. And they had from the guy who I got the colony from. He had told me about how he treated, and I liked the way he treated. It was pretty much what I am doing. And then also he had a very late brood break, which I thought was kind of interesting. That the queen in there sounds like she was that colony was requeened almost like sometime in early October, which is pretty late for her. And I'm wondering how well mated she is. I'm going to be looking at that very, very quickly in the spring to see if she's well mated or not. But they're still going. So
October?
I was trying to get the timeline from him, and he was talking about how he did an inspection in late September, and there was a queen cell. So he said the last time he was in there, there was brood and whatnot. So he did confirm that the new queen had come back and was laying. So, but October's very late. When I moved my one colony, the one that I said was a dead out, I moved them back here. It was right around October 1st. And when I found them, the colony had gone from a full single deep and probably half the supers filled with bees. And it was down to about 4 frames of bees. And I don't know if they were getting robbed out or what. I had a robbing screen on them, but the new queen was in there. But it's like every time I went in there, she was on the same 1 or 2 frames. She never really laid anywhere else. She was a dud. And so, I've been studying up on queens so much lately, reading all these books on queen rearing and stuff like that. And I'm just coming to the conclusion that buying these queens and shipping them across country and all that, it's not good for them. Even when you buy queens and they pull them right out of a little mini mating nuke, those queens have not really had a chance to fully develop, So it sounds to me like, because I'm thinking about it, there's a possibility in the future I might sell queens,
right.
So I'm considering the ethics of it, if I have a queen that comes right back from a mating flight and I look in there and there's a circle of brood the size of a baseball, maybe I can sell that queen for $30, but can I sell it for $45 or $50 if she hasn't had, a significant amount of time laying in there and being assessed and whatnot? But it sounds to me like, from what I've been reading, it takes about a month after they start laying for them to really kick in.
Yeah, mature. Yeah, you should wait. You should wait like 2 weeks at least of laying. Give them.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, the one girl that I had here that mated, she's wow. She went right to it, man. I don't. Maybe she was in there longer than I thought. She went right to it. But those late queens. So that's the other thing I did this year too, guys. Is young queens going into winter. Every one of my queens was from July or later. So I was kind of going off of that philosophy that some people have. I know Mel Discipline's pretty big on that one. Just having young queens. I don't know. I'm not going to pinch my queens that are good this year, next year, and I'll split them and I'll put them in a 5-frame nuke or something like that, and take them into. In fact, I had one of the colonies I told you it was from Florida. It was one of those really big, dark queens. She looked like the typical, what you would say would be like a Carniolan type queen. I pulled that queen out. So that was two 10 frames deeps. And I split that colony up and put it into double nukes. And I put new young queens in there from a local breeder who has VSH queens. And I took the queen out of there, and instead of pinching her, I put her in a 5-frame nuke, and I called my friend down in Indiana who's wanting to get into bees. And I said, hey, you want to start her colony? And I said, if you can get her through winter in this 5-frame nuke, I said, you'll have a great queen, because she really was a good layer. And he called me the other day. They were out doing cleansing flights the other day. Good. And so he's, now he's in northern Indiana. About an hour and a half from here, but so they're still going. They're still alive and kicking, and but they had a nice brood break, and all my bees have all had brood breaks. That's the other thing that I made sure of this year. So,
just to get back to your original question, Joe, as far as what everybody did for their mite treatments. I started in mid-May and did formic acid with Max Mite Away quick strips. I'll never do that again.
Heard that before.
It's mid-May, and you got to put them in for 2 7-day stints, I guess. I think that's what it is. But that first, I put them in, and it got rather hot. I'm not going to lie. It did get warm out, but I opened that bucket up and I almost fell over. It hit me like a train. That smell of that stuff. It's just that ammonia just blows you away. But I put them in there, and then I took them out 7 days later, and then a week later, I didn't lose any queens. I lost some brood, but my queens stopped laying for 2 weeks. All my hives.
You did a video on this, didn't you, Kevin?
Boy, I can't remember. It was.
Seems like I saw a recent video. Somebody, maybe it wasn't you. It could have been somebody who had similar thing happen.
It was probably one of my adventures in beekeeping. I did a lot of videos over the summer. And I think I didn't show obviously anything, but I think I talked about it.
Okay.
The Mite Away quick strips, and what happened to my hives, and then I pulled out the literature, and I'm reading the literature, and right there it says you might lose your queen. You might lose 50% of your bees. And I'm just like, why the hell would I want to put that in my hive? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So that was my experience with it. And, I can't predict that I'm going to get 80 degrees. Maybe that was the problem. You can't have it over a certain temperature, I think, in the hive. It was May. Usually in May, we got pretty normal temperatures, but, one day in the 7 days, it might spike up, and then you got a real problem. But in June, I did 3 weeks straight, every 7 days of oxalic acid fogger, with the alcohol. You guys seen those videos?
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I did that for 3 consecutive weeks. And then once in July and once in August, I gave them a shot each time. And then when I pulled my honey supers off, and that's another thing that I did, that was a pain in the ass. I pulled the honey supers off, then I gave them the shot of the oxalic acid, because you can't, put the oxalic on with the supers on. You can put them on right afterwards, though. As soon as the fog lifted, 5 minutes later, I put my supers back on. It's just, you can't fog them with the honey on it. And then when I pulled the honey off in September, or the end of August, I put Apivar strips in, and I just, it's a 42-day, and I just left them in there. I figured that they'd, that's what they'd take into their winter brood nest, and I just left them in. It's not going to hurt anything. They just turn into plastic strips. I'll pull them out in the spring, So that's what I did. So far, so good. Pretty good as far as the mite treatments were concerned. Mite drops. I did 1 shake, one colony, and I had 1 mite. So we'll see. How about you? How about you, Floyd? What did you do for?
I really haven't done a whole lot other than splitting. They were treated with formic acid just before I got them. I split them a month after I had them, so half of them had new queens in them. I lost one queen, so it had a brood break. I bought a couple of sassafras, and I bought 3 of them. And the one hive I thought was queenless obviously wasn't. When I went back out there 3 days, they were balling the queen on the top frame. I dug through the ball, couldn't get a hold of her. She dove down into the hive. I went in there. They were balling her again. I broke it apart, and she got away. I couldn't find her. So that one, I'm not sure what they have for a queen, because I thought they're queenless, but apparently they weren't. Now, I had one hive that just totally rejected the queen out of the box, and it had no queen for sure. And one hive did take the sassafras queen. And I wound up having to combine her with one other hive what went queenless late in the year. That's when I put them in the 8 frame. And that was very late in the year. End of November. And I was counting on a few warm days in October, but it never got above 50 up here after November. So I never did get into the last 3 colonies to do a real inspection.
One thing that I learned about too late, obviously, now was I never really paid attention to it, was oxalic dribble. If you guys have heard of that, the dribble method for oxalic acid. Oxalic acid.
You can lose a lot of brood doing that, from what I understand.
Well, you do it when they're broodless. You do it in the fall, late fall, like November, when they're pretty much in their brood nest. You know, they're already balled up. Not brood nest, but whatever you want to call that. Little ball of bees. Their winter nest. When they're broodless, and you dribble it on there, then that's what the experts are going with now. I know I've been watching a lot of Randy Oliver, and he swears by that as far as for wintering his bees. And he does.
Doesn't he have some kind of a towel method too, doesn't he, Randy Oliver?
Yeah, that's his trials. That's his trial method that he's doing that towel system on. But that hasn't been approved for use in the United States, but he has a special license
to try it.
So he puts it out there for those not in the United States that read his blog, but for guys like you and me, we can try it, the towel method. But he does a lot more of the dribble method for, the majority of his bees. That's how he takes care of them. It seems pretty simple and straightforward, and you do it when they're broodless. You can do it, early spring before they start building up, and then late fall when they're, congregated together. That's when you want to get them, is when they're all together. And you just 5 milliliters per strip of bees between frames of this solution, and it's on his website. It's like 700, or can't remember off the top of my head. What is it, like 450 milliliters of the oxalic granules and 500 milliliters of the, what is it called? It's not vegetable oil, it's glycerin, vegetable glycerin. That's what they use. That's what he uses. And years ago, they used to use sugar water to mix it and dribble it. But you don't want the bees to consume it. So what they used to do is spray the bees down with sugar water first and let the bees engorge on the sugar water and get full, then use that oxalic acid dribble on top of them, so they're not ingesting it, they're just rubbing up against each other and spreading this oxalic acid all over, each bee.
And he thinks this is better than vapor?
Yeah, he doesn't like I don't think he likes vapor at all.
Well, you probably, I don't know, would you need to use the mask still if you're doing the dribble?
You don't need the mask.
No.
You don't need the mask for that.
Well, that's one advantage.
You probably should use goggles, though.
Yeah, and gloves.
And gloves, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, hearing all the stories that I'm hearing about people losing colonies and having to rebuy bees again and whatnot, and then looking at the price of like Midaway Quick Strips and Apivar and whatnot, I mean, the ProVap vaporizer that's $400 doesn't sound like a terrible investment anymore.
Is that what you have as the ProVap?
No, I have. I bought one from Bud's Bees. I just bought the wand style. It
That's
works
what I
okay.
have.
It works okay. I oftentimes have I still have some crust on the. It doesn't seem to always fully cook it or cook it very fast. I've been leaving it a little bit long. It should have been like 3 or 4 minutes, but it seems like I need to go more like 5 or 6 sometimes. It could be the battery I'm using, but I make sure the battery's fully charged. It's a lawn tractor battery, so it should be plenty of juice for that thing.
Yeah, I have a wand too. I just drag my tractor up to my eye.
That's fantastic. I don't care.
So I always know that my battery works, but
I mean, when you start, like, if Floyd's talking about 100 colonies, I mean, if you're going to get up to 100 colonies, yeah. I mean, to me, that investment.
Oh God, yeah, you have to. Yep.
Yeah.
And all it is too. The thing I like about it too is it's not quite as invasive as the wand, where with the wand you've got to pull your reducers or whatever and figure out a way to get your wand up in there. Whereas with that ProVap, you just put a 1/4-inch hole in each one of your colonies. You stick it right into that 1/4-inch hole. You close up the front. You shoot that in there. It takes a minute.
I don't even think you need the 1/4-inch hole.
You could use the front entrance.
You could just reuse the front entrance.
Yeah, you could. You're right. You could. You're right.
I don't know. Guys are like holes, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Why don't you stick it in the front entrance?
I think because after doing it a few times, the bees don't like you messing with their entrance. You walk up, you pull the entrance. Maybe I haven't had the nicest of bees to deal with either, but if you can walk up to the back of the colony and stick that in a 1/4-inch hole, you're not bothering the entrance at all. Or maybe you just throw a little towel over the front of the entrance and walk behind there. The bees aren't seeing you. I don't know.
I'm sure they propolize it every time, though. I don't know if you got to keep popping that open or.
That's a good thought. I don't know either. That's good. I kind of was watching the Canadian Beekeepers blog, Ian Stepler.
Yeah.
So he's not terribly my style, but I'm also not producing
1,500 colonies, right?
Exactly, or the honey he's trying to produce.
Right.
His way doesn't look fun to me. I do like the way Michael Palmer keeps bees. I just enjoy the stuff that he seems to do and the outside of the box stuff. I really like outside of the box thinking when it comes to stuff.
But he's old.
He's bright. He's
way old school.
Yeah.
Like 1800s old school.
Yeah, I've been reading those books. I've been reading all those books. So
sure.
There's some
Brother
really
Adam?
interesting. Yeah, I just finished his book up a couple days ago. I've tried to get through Miller's book. I couldn't get through that 50 years in an apiary or something like that. I did read Jay Smith's book on Better Queens. I don't know if that's 1800s, but trying to think of what else. There was another one, Scientific Queen Rearing.
The reason I like Palmer the most is because he's a northern beekeeper like we are.
Yep.
I mean, I I could follow some guy that does this stuff down in Georgia, but I'll be honest with you, it does not apply here at all.
I agree.
It just doesn't, you know. I mean, it doesn't get much more winter than the New Hampshire Canadian border.
Yep.
You know, for us here in the United States anyways. So, you know, and
Yep.
he's doing it successfully for a while. His 4/4 nukes, you know, just seem to be really good. And these are obviously just for resources. These aren't for, you know, producing honey or anything else. These are for producing bees for next year, you know,
Yep.
for the colonies that you lose. And that's the best way. And like you said, he said, you go with the equipment that you had. You know, he has 10 frame nukes. So he went with, you know, put a divider in the middle of his 10 frame. That's the equipment he had. And if your thing is you have a bunch of 5 frame nukes, go with 5 frame nukes. You know, put them side by side. You know, doesn't say you have to have, you know, 1 10 frame box. You know, you can put 2 5/5s right next to each other. Share a wall. They'll share a wall, that warmth. You know, wrap the hives together in the winter. You know, I think it just made a lot of sense to me. Now I made the mistake of putting supers on my. You guys probably saw that latest video of mine where you know, I was rewatching some of Palmer's video and he just nonchalantly said, you know, well, I've noticed that if they supersede the queen on the one side, they won't produce another queen over there. And I was just like, holy shit, he's right. They're queen right. Of course they're not going to create another queen. So best thing to do is no honey for those. Just make it through winter so you have bees to have bees to replace your losses, you know, on your production colonies.
Or you could wait till they're queen right and then do it if you wanted. I mean, that's what the University of Guelph does up there in Ontario. When they make up their double nukes, they split their big colonies. They make up their double nukes. They put a queen cell in it. They wait for 30 days and they come back. And if it's queen right and the colonies overflow, and they put a queen excluder and a super on them. But I can see how it would be very difficult to requeen.
But that was the problem. That was the problem that the university, and I saw those videos from the University of Guelph. That's the problem. They never talked about that. What's that guy's name? Very, very nice beekeeper. Peter, is that his name? I can't remember his name. But he never mentioned about what happens if that left colony or the right colony lose their queen. Mm-hmm. They won't produce another queen. You know, they don't talk about that. And
but I think his system is different too, though. So like what you were talking about, Michael is using his for increased colonies,
right,
and for replacements. What all these guys are doing is they're starting their colonies at University of Guelph. They're starting their colonies in June in those double nukes, overwintering them, and then they go into bigger equipment the next year. So they don't really become resource hives. They're basically starts, like Mel Discipline we call them.
Right, but what I'm getting at is they're still putting honey supers on top.
Oh, yeah.
So what I'm getting at is that because of the honey super, that allows the bees to share airspace. You know, they have 2 queens, but they're working together. One queen disappears, they don't care because they still have a queen. And they just become one big colony. But you don't realize that. Bees are going out in and out of both entrances. You got supers on, so you're not tearing your colonies apart to go inspect them until you pull the supers off in late August. Then you dig in there and you're like, well, son of a bitch, there's no queen on this side. Well, of course not. They were queen right. At least they thought they were queen right. So now you're buckling them up for winter, but you only got queen on one side. So you got to either go get a queen or have them create a queen with a walk away, you know, slide a couple frames over, you know. That's what I ended up doing. But man, that just hit me like a train when I realized that. And and I'll never do that again. I'll never put honey supers on top. I'll put.
Well, how about a 5-frame honey super? I just put 5-frame honey.
Exactly. I was talking about it. I was talking about a 10-frame.
Right.
I was talking about a 10-frame box on there. But yeah, you can put. Since it's a 4/4, you can put another four box. You can stack them up as high as you want. But they're still two separate colonies.
Yeah.
Correct. But they're still sharing the heat in the wintertime.
Correct. Exactly.
There's a fella
That's
here
what
in
I've been
Michigan.
doing.
Fella down here in Michigan, Strong Bees. Don't know if you've heard of him, but he does that. He runs a lot of he does medium double nucleus colonies, but he does get honey off of about the fourth or fifth box on those. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's.
But he doesn't do the share like we were talking about.
Right.
And maybe he learned the lesson the same way you did too. I don't know, but.
Floyd, do you put are those honey supers that you put on those 5-frame boxes over, or are they just another box? In other words, are you pulling honey from them? Is that your intention, or you're just giving them?
No, I don't plan on pulling honey. I use a little bit around the house.
Yeah.
But I just feed it back to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I never get a surplus because they never get strong enough up here. If I split them in twice, that they're just big enough to make it through the winter.
And if you're just doing 5/5 and you want to just put more boxes on, but you want to save the honey, I don't think they make a 5-frame queen excluder, do they?
Yeah, they do.
No.
Yeah, there's a couple places that sell them.
There is.
Not too many.
You don't need a queen excluder. I mean, so what? I'm after the bees, not after the honey. So what if you get a few in the fall? That nest's going to be dropped back down. What difference does it make? And once you get the honey shelf above the queen, she never goes up.
Yeah. If you're in it to get honey, that's your effort, and you don't want bees in your supers. You don't want the queen in your supers laying. You don't want brood in there. Then a queen excluder is a nice thing.
If you're running 5 side by side, just use a 10-frame queen excluder.
That's a little too wide, isn't it?
I see what you're.
Yeah, that's a little too wide. Or it's too wide to box. 4/4 is exactly the size of a 10-frame lang straw, but 5x5, I think you'd be too short.
You'd
have to have two separate, 5-frame queen excluders. You'd probably have to make your own, or maybe they sell them. I don't know. I've never seen one.
Well, I make my own boxes, and my center is only made of 3/8, so it's a total of 1/4. I think it would work, but I'm not sure.
Right.
My bottom box, I use a 3/4 inch divider. And then my supers or boxes above there on the center, I use 3/8. So it comes out to 3/4.
Okay. Well,
if you had to run just a small piece of lath around to narrow that up, you could do that.
Yeah.
But you still could, yeah. I think that would work. I've never done it. Frankly, I don't use queen excluders. I'm after more bees. The only thing I use a queen excluder for is a shaker box.
Yep. Joe, do you go, or do you do the 4/4?
I have. That was actually a question I was just going to ask. I built one and then I modified it this summer and never used it. Was I was having moisture problems with it, and 2 winters I lost them. And I seen, I'm going to butcher the name, that university in
Of Guelph? Yeah.
Yeah. I caught it in their video. They had a pretty significant vent hole in their box with screen on it. So I did that, and it was just late in the year. I never got bees in it. So,
And that's the thing with those, with a side-by-side, if you're using one box and you got a, you got side-by-side, we usually tip our hives towards the entrance so that it drains out, right? Well, that means one's draining towards the back because, your entrances are opposite. I'm debating whether or not we need entrances on reverse sides because they're not mating nukes. I don't have to worry about queens flying in, the wrong end. I don't care about drift. That's not a big deal.
Both my entrances are on the front. They're on the same side, just the opposite side of the box.
Right. That's a real good idea. You just put them on the opposite side. The right side, or the right side or the left, on the left side, I would guess, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I give them about 1.5 inches or thereabouts, and it just stays open.
Sure. And that way you can tip the whole hive, the both hives forward, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I made 5-frame nukes, which is split in the middle it's a double mating nuke, because we're up here in the north and the 2-frame mating nukes it's just too cold too early. I need to share that heat in that wall. And that's what I was running into. So like you said, Joe, I drilled holes front and back and put number 8 screening over those holes, front and back on both sides. So that no matter which way I tip it, if my feeder jar starts leaking, I don't have a pile of dead bees that got stuck in the syrup down there. I was having the same problem.
overall, what was your feelings on those 2-framers that you built last year? Are you going to use them again, or?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna. What I did was this winter I took the 2-framers because I kept monkeying with the design of them. The ones that I could match together, I combined them together and made a double 2-frame nuke.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too cold early in the year when you start doing your cliffs or walkways or anything like that. It's too cold for just a standalone 2-frame up here anyways. It just seems our nights get down to, sometimes it drops down to 25 degrees and you got 1 frame of bees, really, and an empty comb that you're hoping that they build out, obviously. That's the whole idea behind it. And that's not a lot of bees to keep me, queen warm or brood warm or anything. So I would rather have them share a wall. I can put that frame of comb on each side full of bees and have them share and share that warmth in there. I think that would help out. I think that's why those queen castles that are, that are 2, 2, 2, and 2, in a 10-frame box. You've seen those before. The only pain in the butt with those is that queens do drift,
Yeah, I really like mine. I didn't do anything with them in the fall. I just stopped using them, put everything in 5 frames. But actually, that video you made, I've seen them before on barnyards, but then after watching your videos, I'm like, well, heck, I can do that. I don't have a Van Tech and all that fancy boards around here, but that helped out a lot.
They were real easy to make, but I'm going away from the singles. I'm going to just go with the doubles now. So now what I do is I take a 5-frame nuke and I put a divider in the middle. Just a 3/4 inch. I buy, you can if you buy the nuke from Man Lake unassembled, I just throw it through my my dado blade, right down the center, put them together, and I put a third board right down the middle. It's 3/4 of an inch, and that way I got a double 2-frame nuke.
If you find that's cheaper than build them yourself.
It's a lot less pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, I know that.
If you got the time in the wintertime, you know, and you're kind of set up and maybe in a garage and you're just looking for something to do, they're great little projects, you know, to create a bunch of those little nukes. I kept monkeying with the size and everything like that. So when I was trying to join these two together, they were different lengths and sizes, and I couldn't, some of them, so I have to keep those as single 2-framers. So, oh well. The feeders is what, when I did a video on the feeders and I built the feeders, I could never get the feeders to work. Number one, they were just as tall as the 2-framers, and then so you stack them on top of each other, so they're really tippy. You know, that was another reason why I wanted to go with the double. They don't blow over in the wind. And one day I came over and every freaking nuke was knocked over. The wind hit one and it just hit every other one like a domino, because they got a narrow base, you know. With a 5-frame nuke, that's not going anywhere, you know.
Right.
A feeder didn't work for me, so I just scrapped that idea and I just invert a mason jar. You know, that's what I use. You know, I just use a mason jar on feeder instead. It just seems to work out just the best. It's not you know, these bees are just only 1 frame of bees, so it's not like they're piling through the you know, the sugar water. They're not using it up like a regular hive does. So you can just use a quart jar, you know, that way you're not there every day.
Yeah. If you're not going to use the full nuke, what I'm planning to do is just slide down styrofoam with a flower board. So I'm utilizing the whole box, and as they expand, just pull one of them sheets of styrofoam out, move your flower board over, and you're making room.
That's a really good idea. I did see a video on that, and I'm like, that's so simple. How come I didn't think of it? You know, yeah. So that way you don't have to transfer bees from your 2-framers to your 5-framers. You know, you just keep pulling.
No.
You just keep pulling out pieces of styrofoam and giving them a
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And then once they get that full, you throw another box on top and pull 1 frame up, or one that's laid out, and they jump up there really quick. Sure.
And the only reason I went with the 2-framers is because all I wanted to do, because I want to graft, so I want a bunch of these little ones, and then take those out, put them in my 5-frames, and then in a couple weeks graft again and use those little ones again. Now my 5-framers are building up and I can leave them alone. I don't have to worry about them, you know. I can or move those into a bigger hive if I need, but building a store pile of equipment is it takes a lot. It really does. Little by little, you can really go broke in doing this hobby really fast.
That's why I'm building all my own equipment, because I don't have extra money.
I'm with you, man. I like building my own equipment. It's fun in the wintertime. I don't work a lot in the winter, but man, like last year when I said go big or go home, I really meant it. You know, I bought 8 hives, you know. That's $1,000 worth of bees, man, or over $1,000. You know, packages are what, $150 or whatever the hell they are, or nukes are. Nukes are $150. Packages, by the time you get them shipped, cost the same amount. You know, $1,000 in bees plus equipment. I mean, it's an expensive hobby, and I think I made what, $400 in honey. I think I spent $2,500 in between bees and equipment, and I made like I said, $400 in honey. So I think I do like the idea of going more for bees than honey. You know, I think I can make a lot more selling nukes to, you know, these other poor saps that want to start beekeeping and go broke like me.
Well, if you can get an overwinter nuke, it's going to be worth $250 to $300 because that queen's been through the winter. It's not just survival stock. The queen's made it through the winter too.
That would be hard to get that kind of money up here, I think. I know some of the guys are getting 170 for a nuke. But there's an Amish guy down in Black River Falls here. He sells his nukes for 120. He sells his nukes for 120. Hell, I bought it off him last year, you know. I bought some off him, a few.
Is it overwintered stock, Kevin?
No, that's the problem. You can't find overwintered stock. If you want to
That's what I'm talking about.
But by the time you find somebody that has overwintered stock where they've built up enough to sell, it's already June. And people they want their bees early. You know, they want
overwinter them in your side-by-side 5 frames or 4 frames.
Right.
At least that's my plan.
Well, I would think if you can pull it off, Floyd, you will be a popular fella up there.
Absolutely.
Well, that's my goal. That's my retirement program. It's got to work.
Well, I keep going, and I know that my 4/4s will have a lot of bees really early, but probably not until 3rd or 4th week of May. Then, you know, when they're bringing in nectar and the pollen's coming in like crazy, that's when I'm really. I think they'll be about big enough here to sell. It's probably the 3rd week of May if everything goes right. I'm gonna guess. You know, by the time the dandelions, like you were saying, Floyd, you didn't even get dandelions where you're at until you said 2nd week of May.
Yeah.
You know, so they're your hives. Although your queen made it, the colony isn't really robust yet. You know, when you're coming right out of spring. Yet. So I guess you're just going to have to see how your bees.
So what about another game plan? What about getting your nukes or packages? I guess, you know, up here you can get packages in April. Most of the nukes are early May. Anybody that I know that's overwintering nukes and then making splits out of those overwintered stock is about mid-May, early to mid-May.
Right.
Is the earliest you can get them here. But so what about doing the packaging? You know, I thought about this. Order a package in April and then requeen from somebody who's a reputable local queen breeder that sells queens that are from overwintered stock.
If
you can find somebody to supply them.
If you can find somebody that's going to give you a queen from one of their nukes, nail them down. That would be awesome. I don't, you know, usually people, you know, they have their little mating nukes. That's when they want to sell their queens. They don't want to sell them as they come out of winter. Those are their breeder queens for the following year, I'm going to guess. You know.
Well, what they're doing is they're doing the splits probably around the 1st of May.
Mm-hmm.
So where we're at, like swarm season kind of starts like around the 1st of May.
Really?
Yeah. It's, you know, it changes from year to year.
Okay.
But so usually by mid-May they've got new queens, you know. So a lot of times you're not getting the queen that overwintered itself. You're getting a daughter from the queen that overwintered, you know, part of the stock.
Yep.
So that particular daughter might not be proven. However, she is young. So young is a good thing when it comes to queens if you've got a good, well-mated queen.
The only problem about at least in my area, and is in a queen breeding program in the spring, is there's not a lot of drones out. You know, you try to make as many virgin queens as you want, but if you don't have the drones, your queens might not be well mated.
Yeah.
You don't get it at the right time. You know, that's why all of our queen breeders come from where? Hawaii, California,
Georgia.
Georgia, you know.
So you guys don't have, like, where you guys are at now, Joe is
The guys
probably,
that do splits, the guys that do splits early here
yeah.
brought their bees in from Texas, or
Yeah.
they these aren't overwintered queens. They're all their hives, and the bees spend all summer here. They bring their bees down to Texas, down to California, and for the winter, and then they bring them up early spring when they're loaded with pollen and the bees are bursting at the seams, and then they do their splits. Man Lake is the same way out of Minnesota. You know, they'll tell you we've got our nukes and everything like that. Well, those bees came from California.
Yeah.
You know, that's their bees. They're there all summer, but those bees spent the winter in California. You know, and they brought them back, and they're doing their splits, and they've got these prolific, and they're bursting at the seams. But these are not winter bees, I guess you could say. There's one company up in Minnesota I know that he's got a program where he breeds them, and then he brings them down to LA or to Louisiana, and then he brings them back. And I still have not nailed down when he does his queens. Are these claims that he leaves some bees up here, and those are the drones that mate with his queens that he's coming back. I just don't know if that's the case or not. Our problem here is that you have to wait till there's plenty of, a decent drone population to breed your queens. And that's why we can't get, decent local queens early anyway. We can get them later, probably around Memorial weekend, I'm going to guess. Maybe even mid-May, probably can get, But I guarantee if it's a northern bee or northern queen and you're getting it in mid-May, she hasn't spent 2 weeks in the hive laying. And that's they talk about that a lot, where the queen, to get to a certain level of maturity, she needs to stay in her first hive for that and lay for at least 2 weeks before you pull her out.
I want to say it was around Memorial Day.
For what?
I'm sorry. I think I froze up and was walking or talking over you. But I think it was Memorial Day before I had any. Last year I grafted at the end of the year, but usually I was just cutting cells for queens.
Okay.
And I want to say it was Memorial Day or around then before I cut my first cell last year. So.
Last year was admittedly a little late though too.
Yes.
True. It was a drawn out spring.
True.
Yeah, it was at least a month late.
Yeah.
When I picked up my boxes from Traverse City area, he says, they're a month late. And that was all the way across the state. We didn't start getting drones up here until up into June.
Wow,
is right. Just really quick, that mountaintop candy or that mountaintop, how much sugar do you actually get on the hive? Is it just 5 pounds or 2 pounds, or how much are you putting on there?
Me, I'm going out with a gallon quart jar every now and then and just top them off. I don't have an inner cover. I just got the outer cover. I pull that styrofoam up and dump more on as needed. As long as you haven't ate all the paper away.
How about you, Brad? How much do you put on?
Well, this first time that I put some on, I took a 10-pound bag and I split it in half and put it on the double nuke, I think it was. I want to say it was a 10 pounds. So I would say 4 to 5 pounds
Okay.
on each one, just over top. And then on the bigger colony, I probably put about 5 or 6 pounds of sugar on top, but they haven't touched it yet.
How long do you think it's going to last on your more active colonies?
Well, I'm looking at my biggest colony, which has yet to touch it. They've been down in the lower box still, and I'm kind of wondering, if they're raising brood. I know that it's common for them to shut down, but some colonies will have brood for a certain period of time, or they might shut down for a little bit. I'm just curious why they haven't moved up at all, and I don't know if it's because they have plenty of stores or their cluster. I know some people, I think about this stuff a lot because, for instance, people will say, oh, you got a really big colony, they're going to go through a lot of resources. Well, I don't know, because maybe a really big colony is able to regulate its temperature better. And having a regulated temperature, perhaps they don't go through the resources that you would think they would go through. Maybe it's harder for a smaller colony in a bigger box. I don't know. I mean,
they also might have different genetics where they know they slow down.
Yeah.
And they're just not active, like Italians. They're freaking too active too early. All year long, where our Carniolan usually slows down in the winter, but will build up very, very quickly in the spring.
Yeah.
We'll even go out in adverse weather. And a Russian, I think that they shut down completely. I mean, you don't even see them move. From what I understand, I don't have Russians, but that's what I understand. So it really depends on sort of your queen's genetics and her progeny, what their propensity to do is, I would guess.
Well, the girls in the double nuke come from the same. They're both from the original queens were the USDA VSH lines. Now that was a few generations back, but the same breeder has been breeding from those queens. However, with the local drones. And interesting, those two are on the top of the double nuke, and they are consuming the sugar. And like I said, the other colony with the queen that was locally raised, I'll call her that. They have hardly moved. Now, early on, back in November, there was on the bottom board. I pulled out the IPM board, and there was two lines of wax coating, top, wax coating, cappings. Thank you. And I haven't seen that lately, but they haven't moved. They were out the other day doing their flights. So I think that they seem so far to be for a very good size box of bees. They seem to be pretty frugal on their resources. So I think with that one, I'm not sure I'll even have to add anything to them. Depends. I mean, we are supposed to get really cold here the next week. And I looked at the extended forecast, and so I know you guys are probably going to laugh at this, but, we're talking lows in the teens and highs in the 20s, which.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to laugh at that.
I think bees still in the bottom box is extremely good. The only hive I ever made it through the winter with, it was a booming box of Carnolians, and they didn't hit the top box until March. And that's when I put the sugar on. Somewhere I got the idea if you put your feet up on top too soon, it'll pull them up and they'll leave the bottom box. Is that not correct?
If you say that again, Floyd?
If you put your emergency feed up too early, you can pull them out of the bottom box. They'll come up for that sugar or fondant, abandon the bottom box if they don't have brood. It was my understanding you don't put that on until late in the season. So one colony I made it through, it was a booming colony, huge one. They were Carnolian, and they didn't come up to the top box until March. And within a week and a half, they abandoned the bottom box, and they were knocking on the upper cover. So I started feeding them.
Yeah, there's different lines of thinking from what I've read, anyways, and this is not from personal experience, but I thought bees, kind of go up and down on frames as they need the honey, and just because they're at the top doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of honey down below. That was my premise, but after seeing my bees up on top, and then I was like, geez, it's only beginning of January, they can't be out. This is a double 10 frame box. How could they be out? So I didn't even think about it, and they were already out. They were dead, and so they died. A week later they were dead. So it's
Well, it was a very warm fall too, wasn't it? They were very active.
My bees, I was having problems getting them fed because I was feeding them sugar water. Because I was doing some open feeding. I was having problems because it was so cold for me, anyways. I was having problems because they couldn't get out and fly. You said, Brad, that you had a great goldenrod and aster fall. We had great goldenrod and aster too, but it was raining and cold, and bees never got out to it around here.
Yeah,
so
it was nice here. It was a really
I ended up having to feed like crazy for my bees.
I did feed too, but a lot of the feed they didn't even take. But it was just, bees were everywhere back here. Usually where I'm at, I'm kind of, like I said, in the middle of the forest, so the bees are flying off. But right where I'm at in the back area, we have a lot of fresh cut and stuff, and so there was a lot of goldenrod and asters right around our homestead area here, and so it was nice to see the bees close. So we got to witness it. It was a really busy straight month. September was really busy, but I did feed for a time. A lot of it they didn't even take.
Joe, was yours are yours up on top, or how was your fall going in, and are your bees on top, or what?
The fall, like it sucked. I mean, we had a beautiful summer, nice, warm, but dry. I mean, goldenrod was pretty much non-existent. It was just too dry. We didn't get the rain. I have a half acre of white corn. I wanted to plant another half acre, and that all dried up and burnt. I mean, so they didn't even get any clover for, I was hoping for that for a little bit of fall feeding.
Sure.
But last time I was in there, which was about 3 weeks ago, everything was down in the bottom yet. Like the double deeps with the super on, I think they were in the second deep.
Did you feed heavy sugar water in the fall?
I fed some. My falls tend to be busy with work and other things and just everything else. I didn't get to doing that like I wanted to. But I need to get in there this week, hopefully, and check them out and put some more bricks on them.
Gotcha.
Basically, I was making the fondant like you were, and then I'm just pouring them in those disposable like soup bowls, paper ones.
Yep.
And then I just put a couple of those on. Yep.
You're just making little bricks. I thought about that too. I'm like, well, if I don't quite get, because I've got to pull those boards off, those candy boards off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I should have some bricks that I can just set on the bars, on the top bars, and then I can go back and make my fondant, and at least they have something there,
Yep.
A little bit. I'm really, I wish I could nail down how much fondant they will pack away. when they start taking it down. You know, the last thing I want to do is, well, I can wait another week. Well, I can wait another week, and then go in there and all my bees are dead because they had gone through it and there's nothing left. You know.
Have you ever watched any of those? I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Think Dave Burns.
Oh yeah, David Burns down in Illinois.
Yeah, he makes that.
Yeah, he's Mr. Rogers of beekeeping.
Yeah. But I want to say I read on his website that board that he's trying to sell there, that Winter Bee Kind or whatever.
That's the same.
I want to say I read you're supposed to check it every month.
Is that right? But the funny thing is that, see, he sells that board, okay, and then if it's like $35 for that thing,
yep,
okay,
yep,
but then he gives you the formula to make
yep.
to replace it, okay, so that's what you do, and his recipe is much different than mine, but he only puts 4 pounds on.
Yeah.
Mine were 13 pounds, you know, and I think my one colony is damn near through it, and they've only had it for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, that's what
he had a video out the other day, and it was he's wanting them to raise brood right now, and I thought Illinois was kind of cold, but
it is. I sometimes, and again, he likes to experiment though, so you got to understand that he does a little bit of experimenting too. So, and he doesn't do a really good job of explaining what he's doing because he can point guys in the wrong direction. You know, super nice guy. You know, he's trying. You know, I think he can just do nothing but benefit you by watching his videos. But he's just so nice. I mean, it's like, oh my God. You know, I saw him pick up a bee and put it back into the, you know, it was on a flower. He bought it, and he set it in front of the hive, and I'm just like, really? it was just kind of funny. But
I think one of the things reading Brother Adam, which is very interesting, is talking about having the right bees for the right situation.
Sure.
Some bees aren't right for one place, and some bees aren't meant for, like, some bees aren't good honey collectors, honey gatherers, but they are great at raising brood, you know, things of that nature. And I think for us, we have a unique situation where if we were to prioritize to have any kind of a sustainable operation that you would want to make any money with, that you could make any money or even try to break even on, which for hobbyists would be great, I think, you have to have overwinter bees.
Winter bees is number one.
If you're buying them, so to me that is your number one, like, investment goal, whatever, is focusing on, you know. So one of the guys I noticed, I really wish he would post more, because I really like people that like you're talking about, David, who they do a lot of tests, or they study and they share what they do. There's a guy up probably not far from you, Kevin, Quiney. He's a German guy, Quiney Honey or something of that nature. He hasn't put too many videos out this year, but he was overwinter. He's treatment free, by the way. The only things that he does is he's a really big Mel Disicone fan, the OTS, and so he's big on the brood breaks, and he's also big on drone trapping. So putting a green drone frame in the colony, and sometimes he moves his bees into another box without any brood or any wax frames or anything. The only thing he has is a drone frame, and so there's a broodless period, and then the queen will lay up drones, and then he'll remove that drone frame, feed it to the chickens, and that's one of the ways he does it. So he overwinters nukes, a lot of 5/5, and I talk to a lot of people here, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have strong relationships with people in our local because everybody's really cookie cutter. You know, you have to have 2 deeps and a medium on top. And if you don't have that, you're not beekeeping correctly. Well, yeah, but all your bees are dying, you know, so.
You got to work out your own system, man.
Right. So, but this fella here is doing a lot of 5/5s. He's not even supplemental. He's not putting sugar on top or anything. And I was looking at his numbers. He was sharing his numbers at a meeting. And, you know, if he had 30 colonies, he was getting 25 of them through winter. And these are 5/5 nukes.
Pretty good, yeah.
And so a lot of success. And I noticed too, Michael Palmer doesn't like to supplemental feed his colonies either.
He said he does. He does.
In winter or in the fall?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't touch them in the winter. He doesn't open them up.
So what he does is he weighs them in the late summer, and if they're not up to weight, he's sugar syrup, right?
Yep.
2 to 1, like 2 to 1,
like 4 or 5 cans, right? 1 gallon cans right on the top of the bars, and he basically force feeds them very, 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 very quickly to get them up to weight. Once they're up to weight, they're on their own. That's the way when you get 1,500 colonies, even Floyd, when you get up there to 100, you're not going to be wanting to, go in and supplement feed, every freaking colony. It's not an option. You got to do the
right.
You got to figure out what works, and then just go with it. If 5/5 works for you, great. Those 4/4s that I was looking at, I went and put supplemental feed on them, but 3 of them were fine. They were down below, and I was like, I stuck my hive tool in. There's plenty of honey. I'm just like, wow, great. The left side was awesome. The right side was all up the top, and they were empty. So I knew I had to put supplemental feed. And if you put on one side, you got to put it on the other to keep, because I got a hive top, keep them even,
Yeah.
I got 1 square box, or the top to set on top, so I got to keep them even. So I gave them both. I'm going to guess one side is eating it like crazy and the other side isn't touching it, but I think if you get it to weight, I think you've got a really good shot where you don't have to be supplemental feeding in the wintertime. Me, I'm guessing. I'm lifting my hives and I'm like, well, this feels like it's got weight to it. The hell do I know? My arm isn't calibrated,
Yeah. But it matters what bees you have too, right? So if you have that Italian package from Georgia from May, then you got a different ball game than if you have a locally adapted,
right.
Wisconsin bee.
If you're just beginning and you've got your Georgia bees or your California bees, you just don't know. But like when Floyd gets up to where he's at, he's gonna know his queens.
Yeah.
He's gonna know his queens. He's gonna know that they're winter hardy. There's a guy up in Pennsylvania, Country Barn Store or Bees or something like that. His name is Joe ZG, something like that. You can Google it. But he raises a northern strain of bees. That's what he does in Pennsylvania. And I was talking to another beekeeper on one of my that follows me on YouTube, and he swears by those queens. He's from Michigan as well, and he swears by them. And he says he's got 100 colonies or something like that. He said, and they're all overwintering great, and they don't touch any of his honey. They don't move during the winter. And he said, I'll send you a couple queens, just because he wants to breed his own queens as well, So I'll send you a couple queens. I'm like, great. So we'll see how they come out. But you can Google that guy. His name is Joe Z. That's the way I did it. I just Googled Joe ZG, and it popped up in bees. And it popped up Northeast Pennsylvania is where he's at. Like Country Barn Farm or something like that, I think. He's got a northern strain, and he bred them from a cross between Italians and Carniolans. but he's been and he overwinters all his bees, obviously, in Pennsylvania. So better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Back to the feeding. Getting back to the feeding. If the bees are still in the bottom box, you don't got to feed them.
You're right.
When they get up to the top rim, yeah, you want to get your feed on them. But to know that, you got to be checking them weekly.
Yeah.
I mean, stethoscope up against the box, see where the hum is. Like I say, my big booming hive stayed in the bottom box all winter long. Once when the weather started turning, they started raising brood. Within 2 weeks, they were at the very top of that hive. I put sugar on and a little can of water in there. They never touched the water, but they sure took after that sugar.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, as soon as I get a strain of bees that I know that I can winter constantly, my own strain, and I'll still have to bring in genetics from outside because I just don't have a big enough apiary to produce it. But, you know, hopefully I'll get it down to where I know how much my bees are going to need for the winter, and just that's it, you know, that's it for them. And then at the end of spring, that pollen patty, put 3 or 4 pounds on, well, that's 66% sugar. So that, you know, that's supplemental feed, obviously, for them too, you know.
Yeah.
If you have a little bit of longer lag in your spring, you know, you put a 3-pound patty on there, that's a lot, you know. That's a lot. Or you can go with a 4-pound patty, you know. Some of these guys put 5 pounds. They just squish it right down. You know, there are definite options out there.
Have you tried any of Mike Palmer's queens at all?
No.
Does anybody?
I didn't even know. I didn't know. I knew
I've looked for him,
but I've never seen his store, so I don't know.
I can't find the website.
I read
I've
on.
contacted him. I've sent him emails and never got a response. Looking for 5 or 6 queens. I don't think he wants to sell 5 or 6 queens at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably wants to sell 100 at a crack, huh?
Well, you know, it might be a good idea is if a bunch of us guys got together and went out there and bought 20, 30 packages, our nukes from them. Then we'd have his genetics, but it's a hell of a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little too long.
I mean, for me, I can get there fairly quick going through Canada, but I can't come back that way. I got to go down around the state of Michigan.
Oh. Well, on a one-way trip or what?
Yeah, one-way trip. Yeah, I can make it over there in probably 7 hours going through Canada from where I'm at, but I can't come back that way. I got to come down through, well, down around Lake Michigan.
I don't think he sells nukes and stuff like that. I think he just sells queens, right?
No, he sells nukes too.
Does he?
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and
the reason
his buddy there, his treatment-free buddy, the one who showed him about nukes, he sells nukes and queens. That might even be better stock, but that fella has a 3-year waiting list for his nukes.
wow.
But he's treatment-free.
You know, the Saskatraz queen or Saskatraz queens, those are meant to be winter hardy, obviously, from Saskatchewan. But they will tell you right on the project that their queens are not meant for, you know, breeding. You know, they're not breeder queens because they're mated by drones in California. That's why you get them from OHB. That's the company over there. They're mated. They're wintered in California, but they're mated down in I should say, they're raised up in Saskatchewan, but they're shipped down to California, mated, and then sent to wherever. So what you're supposed to be using them for is the drones stock, not for a breeder queen. You're not supposed to create queens from their stock. The drone is essentially a clone of the queen, right? But all the workers are going to be from the drones from California, which have nothing to do with wintering, right? So you don't want to, pull cells from that and create queens from those Saskatraz queens. Those are for drones really only.
Well, if she survives up here over winter, I'd be happy to use her as a breeder queen.
Yeah.
Anything that'll make it through this winters up here is a damn good bee.
Sure.
That's
what I said is the problem, because anything she gets, she might survive the winter, but the workers or the cells that she produces will not be from her. They'll be from California. She got mated with the drones from California, so all her sperm came from California. So all those workers are a cross between her and those California drones. So what you really want to do is get a good queen that made it through winter by you, like one of your favorite, good producer, calm, everything, made it through winter, one of your native ones, and have those offspring, as you're creating queens, mate with the drones from that Saskatraz queen. That's what you want, because that Saskatraz queen, the drones are a perfect clone of her, because it comes from an unfertilized egg. All drones do.
Right.
So that's what you want. You want that way you can get her genetics into your strain. That's what you really want. And they say that right in the project itself, that's what you want. You don't want to use those as breeder queens. You want to use them for the drones, or to produce honey, I guess, to make it through winter, produce honey. But if you're in a queen rearing program, you just want to use the drones from those Saskatraz queens.
Okay, yeah. Talking to beekeepers up here, sounds like the Carnolians do a lot better over anything, except for maybe the Russians.
That's what I've tried to get, is more Carniolans than Italians. Italians, man, can they produce the honey? But the Carniolans, for their winter hardiness, that's what I'm trying for. I'm trying to get a cross going, something that will survive here,
Are you getting those all local, or are you?
No, I haven't gotten anything local. I'm trying to find something that can survive first and create my own local.
Yep.
That's.
You guys might laugh at me, but 3 years ago, I ended up buying some of the Fat Bee Man stock, which I'm not knocking a stock, but they're very gentle and all that. I'm kind of like what you guys are getting at. I want to be able to put X amount of pounds on my hives in the winter, not have to put sugar and all this other stuff to get them through.
Right.
And they just eat too much in the winter.
Yep.
So I want to get some different genetics in here. I just don't know. Same deal. I don't have anybody local.
Well, have you guys heard of Brett from BKBs?
Yep.
Okay. Well, his bees sound pretty promising. Now he's about 2 hours north of me, which probably puts him about 2 hours from you in Alpena, Joe. But they get some pretty cold winters up there. He's up near probably Hesperia, I think he said. So that's kind of like the Ludington, area. And so I know that last winter he had 89% success rate through winter.
He's treatment free also, right?
No, he's not.
No.
He's not treatment free. Are you treatment free, Joe?
No.
Okay. So no, he's not treatment free, but he's so he uses Midaway quick strips, I think.
Okay.
And then I think he may use oxalic acid as well at times. But his line of bees was very interesting. I think the story is very cool. They at their meeting up in that area, a lady showed up and said, "Hey, I bought this home and there's a couple of beehives on the property, and I guess they've been there 3 or 4 years and nobody's touched them."
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they went in, they helped her out, and then I guess a few years went by and the lady never did anything with the bees. She just let them go, and they went back and checked back on her, and the bees were actually still living.
Wow.
So he said, "Can I please take a frame of eggs?" and he took them, and that's where he got his stock from. And so he calls them his Mary Ellen queens. So the reason why is that the woman who owned that property was named Mary Ellen.
Okay.
So he's got a mixture of Mary Ellen's and Buckfast's lines.
Okay.
That he's kind of bred into. I think the Buckfast were the drones that he used to kind of breed with those. But unfortunately, I bought a queen from him this year, and it ended up being the queen that got killed from the colony that I thought didn't have a queen that did.
Well.
So new beekeeper. Anyway, like I said, so he told me that he seems pretty genuine. I kind of trust his word. He told me that his success rate last winter was 89%. So, and so he overwinters in a lot of single deeps, kind of like the Canadians do.
Sure.
And I do notice that he does shim his colonies sometimes and puts a little food supplement on top in February or so. But I guess what I'm saying is especially for you, Joe, and for you, Kevin, that he's probably right there in the same climate as you guys. It might be a good source to get a couple queens from him. I know that I'm going to actually run a colony with one of his queens in him this year.
Now, does he ship? Do you know, or is it?
Yeah, he ships.
Okay.
Yeah, he sure does. So, and he actually is taking orders right now for queens. I think he sells packages, and those packages I think come from the South, and then he sells nukes kind of as he has them, and then I think his queens are available in late May where he's at, like I said. So that could be June too, but he'll run queens until like August, I think.
Well, that's the best thing to do is to go find somebody in the northern climates, and even if you don't build them up to any huge numbers, get them into a wintering nuke, and that way you'll have them for the following year and see how they really do. But even if you get them in mid-June or something like that, when our northern beekeepers start really getting those queens production going, you have a better chance of getting some local queens that way,
Yeah.
Northern queens, I should say,
Yeah. Well, he might be a good source for you guys. I was just throwing that out there. I've done
Is that what you said?
B&K Bees. He's got a pretty prominent channel on YouTube.
Maybe I've seen it before. I don't know. I watch some. I all goddamn day watching YouTube videos.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm running out myself.
Well, we lost Floyd. I see he came back for a second, but we lost him, huh?
And his stuff seems pretty gentle too. He works his stuff and usually no veil, no gear.
I got to tell you guys, I'm about 2% on my battery here, and I'm plugged in. So
okay. Yeah, that's all. You guys want to do this again?
Sure.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. There was one video actually I kind of wanted to tell you guys about really quick. It was produced in like 1990s, but it's from Germany, but it's been, I think, dubbed over with an English narrator or whatever. and it's this lady that she's doing some beekeeping, and it's a really, really cool. I've never seen a better beekeeper in my life. She does everything without a freaking veil or net or anything. She's got all these colonies, but her system of doing it was absolutely amazing. And one of the things that she had, a piece of equipment, just stunned me. And I think we're, as northern beekeepers, it's a really good idea to weigh our colonies, right? To get, I mean, and you probably, none of us would probably really weigh our colonies. At least I don't. You know, I do the heft, you know, it's like, well, it feels heavy. It's about as much as I weigh it. But what she had, actually her assistant, or probably her husband, he had a single pole that went up, and it was probably 6 foot tall, a pole, and it was it had another bar. It was probably a 3 foot long bar on top, and it acted like a fulcrum, right? It was like a teeter totter on top, right? Well, she had a scale and a chain, and all he did was he put the pole next to the thing. They hooked the scale up to whatever, you know, like I suppose you strap it, you know, and he just grabbed it, because you're reducing the amount of weight that you need to pull down by a 2 foot to 1 foot. That's kind of, I think that's what they did. So you're only lifting 200 pounds is like 50 pounds or 60 pounds. So that's only force you need. And he just lifts it up, and then they can read the scale right there that's hanging. And then they know what they need to feed their bees in the winter. And it took them like 10 seconds.
Wow.
And I'm like, I could make that out of a freaking 2x4, you know, that lever with it. I mean, it's like, that's so simple. Like, why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, I'm going to make something like that for next year, just so I know, okay, you know, I know my hive empty weighs, with X number of frames, weighs 55 pounds, you know, so I know what a single I want to get, you know, up to 90 pounds, right? Or a double, I want to get up to maybe 150 pounds or something like that. You want a target that you want to get to, you know, so you know, okay, this hive, it's only at 130. So I know I need to throw on 2 gallons of syrup and get these guys up to weight. That way you're not wasting, you're not pouring 4 gallons, you know, on a hive that doesn't need it, you know. It's just food for thought. But I thought I'd it's if you look it up on YouTube, it's C1896 is.
Yeah, Paul Walton. Paul Walton is the YouTube name. I was actually just chatting you guys this because I was worried I might fall off here, but Paul Walton, and I think it's called. I'm actually pulled it up here. I think it's something to do with beekeeping by annual rotation.
Yep, that's it. It said C1896, and it says beekeeping by annual rotation.
I just found that channel, and I guess those videos that were produced in Germany, they're very high quality. They did one on
really well done. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Hour to spare. Watch it. Dead.
Yep. Those almost got lost, by the way. I found out that the people who did it in Germany, they went out of business, and they were looking for somebody to buy it, and somehow or other this guy ended up with those videos and put them on YouTube. Otherwise, they were kind of lost for a time.
It just popped onto my thing. It was like one of those, you know, recommended videos, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh God, you know, it's this chick. I think they might have even been done it says 1990s in the credits, but boy, it sure looks even earlier. It looks like more like 70. They talk about Varroa though, but they do it. So you can't really pay attention to too much, because they did things a little bit different when Varroa first started coming out. They cut a lot of drone comb. They create, you know, drone comb and things like that. Oh, lost Brad. I think his battery probably died. But watch that video. I'm serious. Just take some time out and watch it. You'll get a lot out of it. You'll just kind of go, wow, I like that idea. That's a pretty cool idea. Even the way they do swarm prevention is just it's different than anything I've ever seen before.
Where can I find that?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's the title is C 1896, and then it's what did he say?
Paul Walton.
Paul Walton is the author, but you'll want to look it up. The title is annual, something about annual rotation, beekeeping by annual rotation, something like that. That's the title of it.
Okay. When we get done here, I'm gonna head right there.
Yeah. If I actually, it should be. Give me a second. I'm going to look in my history real quick. It should be in my history. And I'll. Okay, come on. Probably way down there. I watch a lot of videos, so it's probably way down there now. And there's another one called C13136 too, but the channel has them all on there. Give me a second here, and I'll get.
No, we were talking about Palmer not putting no emergency feed on, but that's not exactly correct because he goes out in the spring and checks them. I think he puts full frames in next to them.
You know, I've never seen him do that, Floyd.
Yeah, I think it's in Keeping Bees in the Frozen North. I don't know. I've watched him so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes out and shows a cluster size, and if he can't find honey, if they're not in contact with honey, he says you got to do something with them. But he doesn't say what he does. But I think he slides full frames in next to the cluster.
Okay.
I mean, in the last years, I spent almost as much time on YouTube as I have at work. I do it a lot at work. I drive semi loading steel out of Canada, so I get a lot of sitting time.
Sure. Okay, here, let me see. Let me try to do this share thing again. See if I can do that. Oh, Zoom.
On my little iPhone, I may not be able to see it. Find my glasses here.
Oh yeah, here it is. There we go. You see that?
Yep.
I can't make it out. Oh, maybe I can. Where is the address located? I got it blowing up, but I can't.
Oh, let me
Okay, I see it.
you
Oh,
see it? Address. And those are, yeah. If you just write down the title and do a search for it, that it should come right up.
right. Okay.
Not only that, I dig the type of hives that they use. They actually, I think these are extruded polystyrene, high density, and they fit inside of each other. So, you know, there's no grabbing the corners to making your boxes perfect. Each one fits inside the other one. So,
Right.
really cool. But
Have you ever tried styrofoam?
No,
I
have not. Have you?
I haven't, but I do plan on building some. I'm gonna build them and probably put that crap they put on the outside of buildings. Oh, what the hell is it called? But they put they mix it with Portland cement and they swipe it on the building. They throw
Stucco or
it's like stucco. It's not stucco. It's all the new buildings they got on the outside.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I know
easy stuff to work with.
Yep.
I used to work construction and I got on a couple of them buildings. I got a nephew that does that in the Detroit area. That's all he does is run that. It's like drive it. The first
Yep.
one.
Yep.
Stuff
Yep. Yep.
Coat that on the inside.
It's called EFIS. It's called EFIS, exterior insulation finish system. So they put foam insulation down and some mesh, and then they coat it.
Yep. And
Yep.
I think that should have them generate a lot of extra propolis to smooth off the inside too.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that stuff for 3 years now, but I can't afford to buy wood boxes, let alone styrofoam.
You ain't lying, man. That's why I like making my own. There's a guy around here that's he's selling boxes, deeps for I can't remember what it is, like 10 or 12 bucks for a deep, and I'm like, I can't buy an 8-foot 1x12 for that.
I was just say, where's he buying his lumber from?
That's what I'm just like. What is he producing? He must have his own mill, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm buying a whole hive from him for $100. Bottom board, 2 deeps and 2 supers, and top and a cover and an inner cover for $100. You know? Yeah, wow. And I'm just like, holy crap. And I can't. It's like I'm sitting there going, I really can't afford to buy any more of these, but I can't afford not to.
Right. Yeah, I think Man Lake wants a 2 deep and a bottom board for $100, right? Or more than that, maybe.
It could be, and I can't remember. Their kits come with frames, though. Frames are pretty.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta put that in there, you know, to add that.
Have you ever tried foundationless?
I'm doing that this year myself. I made up. I did a video where I made up. I bought 100 frames from Man Lake, and I use fishing line.
Yeah.
And but I am only using them in my deeps because I don't spin out my deeps, so I don't have to worry about blowouts or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't spin nothing out, so I don't worry about it at all.
Right.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 2 years now. Just like you are, just in deeps.
Sure.
And what I do, I took that plastic foundation. What is that? That Man Lake, the small cell.
Oh, yeah. The foundation, yeah, right cell.
Yeah, and I cut that into, like, I don't know,
starter strips.
3/4 inch.
Yep.
That use those as starter strips.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I've done.
You can also take that wooden breakout piece.
Yep.
You can flip it on its side, staple it in, and coat that with beeswax, and that'll be your starter strip.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that a try.
You know, all they need is a straight line and some wax to start. Yeah. People use popsicle sticks, I heard.
I'm going to use a lot of them in my swarm traps. I'll use a half feet right in the center of foundation, and then just starter strips up on top.
Did you catch a lot of swarms?
I've never caught a swarm. I've never seen a swarm.
Okay. Other than my own, I've never seen a swarm either. So that's why I'm like, before I go out and buy 50 swarm traps, we lost Floyd now, huh?
Yeah.
Coming back.
Okay.
I just got to plug my phone back in.
Oh. Yeah, I just don't see any swarms here. I put one swarm trap out this year about 70 yards from my farm apiary, and I got bees moved in, but they were not honeybees.
According to Tom Seeley, up in Arnott Forest, the bees are back. Have you seen the wild honeybees
Yeah, I saw that. I've never seen a feral hive even. So,
I haven't either.
I hunt for I mean, I spend all fall in the woods. It's what I do. I've never seen a honeybee colony in a tree anywhere.
What would it cost to throw up a couple nukes around you there
Oh,
somewhere?
like I said, I did that one, and the bees that moved in were not honeybees. They were they made a paper nest, but it wasn't wasps. It was like well, what do they call them? Little freaking
Well, Mason.
mason bees.
Yeah.
I think they were mason bees that moved in there because they built the paper from the bottom up. So they from the bottom of the hive, up instead of hanging down from the lid. They built it on the bottom, and I'm just like, I saw the bees go in, and I'm like, oh, I caught some, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like a honeybee. What the hell is that? And I'm like, oh man. So I left them alone. I pulled it down when it froze. So I was looking inside. I had a little ball about that big, paper ball.
Well, I figure if I can't catch them in the UP, I can go down farther south in Michigan, and they've got them in all over down south, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Detroit area.
Yeah,
they forms all over the place.
You're in southern Michigan, Joe.
Well, I'm about 2 hours below the bridge, so okay. I'm kind of northern upper peninsula or lower peninsula.
Lower peninsula. Oh, so are you near Detroit?
No, I'm about 5 hours north of Detroit.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's only about 2.5 hours from me.
Okay. So you are up there a little bit. You're probably kind of maybe even parallel with me there, I would guess, huh?
I heard you say Black River Falls. Are you close to that?
No, not Black River. The Arnott Forest.
Me. No, he was talking to me. Black River Falls. No, I'm north of Black River Falls, probably about an hour and a half north.
Oh, okay.
That's where the Amish guy was in Black River Falls.
Okay. I was there one time for work.
Okay. So
are those Amish running German bees or Russian?
No, they're Italians.
They're Italians, and they're doing well.
Well, he winters them down in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
He might be an Amish guy. But he ships his bees to his Amish buddies down in Texas to winter them for him, and then he brings them back. So yeah, these are all like I said, you can't find local winter bees, or it's an impossibility. They're just not built up yet here early. You might get nukes or queens, but you won't get them till towards the end of May, Memorial Weekend or something like that, before anybody's nukes will be built up big enough to sell. They can have nukes, but they're not going to be very, very full of bees,
Yeah.
And you don't want to sell a nuke that's not full of bees, because you want to see what the queen is going to do, for your clients. You don't want to sell them a freaking dud of a queen,
Right. Yeah.
She might come out of winter and been a good layer last year, but this year all of a sudden she's spitting duds,
Right. Yeah.
So you always want to give them some good queens that have, at least 3 frames of brood, solid, and some good. And then when you do sell your nukes, remember, have your customers come like at 7 o'clock at night, right at dusk, right before dusk.
Yeah.
That way all your bees are back in the hive. If you sell them during the middle of the day, you're going to have a whole lot of bees looking for home.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to send out all the bees with them, but if they leave them behind, they'll find a home.
It's true, but that's why you want your customers happy,
Absolutely.
And so I could never figure that out, why the guy told me to come at 7 o'clock. I'm like, frick, does you want me to come at 7 o'clock? I'm an hour and a half away. Like, I don't want to drive down there 7 o'clock at night. Well, duh. You know, he wanted the bees to be inside, back home.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't even click. Well, I was first time beekeeper, so what the hell do I know? And he sure as hell didn't say anything. He was one of those old crotchety guys. Wants to sell you bees every year. He doesn't want you to winter bees. Buy bees, create honey, have them die over winter, and come back next year and go buy bees from them again.
Right. That's what they did in Canada for a lot of years. That they took every bit of honey and discarded the hive.
Yep.
They closed the U.S. border and they said, well, we got to do something different. You know what they're doing now in Canada? They're breaking all their big hives down into 5-frame nukes and sending them just far south in Canada as they can.
Yep. I've heard that before from some of the beekeepers. That's what they're doing. Not everybody's got a winter shed like Ian Stepler, that he can put them in. But Ian still says, he's got beekeeper friends in the area that winter hives outside, but looks like they don't do the single hive. Looks like his friends were doing the double deeps.
Right.
And that's what worried me about Michael Palmer. I don't know what kind of bees he's got. When he winters his bees, he's got 2 deeps and a medium.
Right.
That's where I got that idea from this year.
Right.
And that's Joe. That's where you got your idea from, wasn't it?
Yep.
Well, I know he has some Russian in there. That's where he's getting his dark quietness from. In one of his videos, he was saying that, yeah, he had to get more Russian into his line.
Okay. Yeah. When I saw that, I'm just like, holy crap, that's a lot of stores. No wonder he doesn't worry about feeding them, Well, guys, when do you want to do this again? In 2 weeks?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Does Saturday does that time work good, or you want to do it a half hour earlier or an hour earlier, like at 6:30 instead of, you guys are an hour ahead of me, so it really doesn't matter to me. I figured I was going to have more guys from Minnesota and Wisconsin, but all I got was Michigan today.
Well, oh, you got the cream of the crop anyway.
Yeah,
I think we should.
Roger, he's from Howling Hollows. He does taxidermy as well. He's right on the Mississippi River, and he was all gung ho about this chat. And I saw him. I got an email that said Roger's waiting in the waiting room, and I'm like, well, he was an hour early, so he might have given up. Maybe thinking that he had the right time, because, like I said, Google Calendar sent out the wrong time.
Oh.
It said 5:30 Pacific time, or to some people, and it was like, if they didn't pay attention, it said PST. He might have been on there at 5:30 going, where the hell is everybody,
Well, that's kind of what I was doing at 6:30 your time. Well, what? He's not there yet? What's going on? I phoned the wife, said, read this. What am I missing? So then I had to go in and pull up a U.S. timeline. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Well, I'll try to make contact with Palmer again.
Okay.
And like I said, I tried, well, it was either last year or year before. It was last year. But he didn't return no emails, no phone calls.
Huh.
Yeah, I had one of my followers that said he was going to contact him about, it was just a question on whether he does a 4 or 5 day rotation on his queen rearing, because he had 2 videos. One said one thing, one said the other. And so we were going to ask him, and he never got back, He never, he probably, I mean, he's so popular. He probably has 1 million people emailing him, and he just doesn't, like I said, for queen rearing, unless you're buying 100 queens from him, I'll bet you he won't even respond.
Right.
You know?
He used to be pretty active on Bee Source, and that's where I heard that you could email him for orders, but I never reached out to him at all.
Yeah, I saw him. He was on a thread, and he posted after me on Bee Source. I can't even remember what. It was on the Bee Suit. You know, I had bought this Man Lake vented one. You probably saw the video of it, but somebody else had posted what's the best bee suit, and he goes, white T-shirt, white T-shirt, no veil. That's what he. So he posted that. So so at least he's on there still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he returns any, because I bet you he's probably got a million people asking him questions.
Oh, I would imagine.
Even Ian Stepler's, I'm sure he gets a million people asking him questions too. The more popular that his channel gets. But okay, guys. Well, it was great talking to you. I think I got a lot out of this.
Yeah.
Even if we got some of Joe May's bees, at least they're halfway to the Northland as opposed to Georgia or California.
Yeah.
But he never returned my phone call or my email either.
Yeah. Well, his channel now, he's got 12,000 followers, so he's probably pretty busy himself too, I would guess.
No, I did reach out to him last year about some queens, because he was, what did he have going on there? I think he had some Carnolians and some Buckfast. But it's the same deal. They were all open mated in his yard, so it's probably not a true.
Right. I'm okay with breeding, having mutts in my yard, as long as they are mutts that can make it through a winter. I will worry about getting, honey producers and mite resistant way later. Right now, I want queens that'll make it through winter. The colony just shuts down. They push the winter,
There is a network, Northern Bee Producers, I think it is. There's a whole list of breeders out there. There might be some fairly close to you.
I'll have to check it out.
I mean, there's like 7 or 8 in Michigan.
Oh.
Where they're raising queens, but they're more down towards Detroit and
sure
Ann Arbor. Totally different climate than what I got in wintertime.
Yeah.
We get cold in November and don't get warm until who knows, April.
Well, I would settle. Kentucky is still a little too warm for me to go get queens from. I've kind of learned that, but I'm okay.
7 or 8 of them in Wisconsin.
I'm okay for getting some from this guy from Pennsylvania. A little hardier. His winters aren't as nasty as mine, but they're better than Georgia. I'll tell you that. They got it.
If you go on, just look for cold weather bees, you'll probably be able to find that network. There's a whole network of them, kind of doing what we're doing right now. Only they won't have them early.
Right.
Might have to wait until June, but at least you can get them.
Right. And that's the thing. To bring in some genetics each year, and I'm not lying. I'm going to be bringing in a couple of queens from elsewhere just to keep the genetics diversified in my apiary every year. You got to. You can't sustain a queen breeding program on even 30 colonies. You can't do it.
Yeah. I'll reach out to a couple of guys here in town. We got one guy, he runs, I don't know, probably 200 colonies or so. he puts all his bees in big condos and wraps them in styrofoam so that they're all sharing their heat.
Okay.
And he's getting a bunch through the winter that way.
Yeah, guys do pelletize their nukes and things like that, or pelletize their hives. I think they can get they can share a lot more heat. But I'm not set up for anything like that because I don't want to move hives. It's just me, it's not like
I hear you.
I can move hives around. I can move nukes, but I can't be moving, 10 frames.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I can pick up a 5-frame nuke full of honey pretty easy. Now that 8-frame full of honey, that's getting too much for me. I'm 62 years old,
Sure.
and I'm still pretty strong and vital. I mean, but sooner or later something's gonna pop in my back.
Keep it manageable. That's the deal.
Yeah.
All right,
okay,
guys.
I'll look forward to your email.
Okay. We'll try to schedule it. Like I said, is a little earlier, a little bit better for you guys, probably.
It's better for me.
Okay.
I generally get up at 4:30 in the morning, and it's past my bedtime.
Okay. I'll send out I'll actually send out a link to that YouTube video just in case you can't find it or whatever, but I'll send it out to everybody.
Okay, appreciate it. It's been a blast. Good night.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.